the faster you're able to pull the right people through the funnel, the faster you're going to be able to grow your agency, grow your clients. And yeah, not everyone is going to be at 10 out of 10 at the end of the gate, but you're going to find more of them faster if you follow a frictionless, fast, streamlined process.
You're listening to Homecare Hindsight, the podcast where we talk with home care leaders about the big mistakes they've made and the even bigger lessons they've learned along the way. I'm David Knack, head of sales here at Zengage, and I've built a career on the idea that we learn a whole lot more from our mistakes than from our successes, which is great because I've made a lot of mistakes. I've gotten to know some of the leaders in this industry who've built amazing businesses and are super well respected. So I thought it'd be fun, instead of asking them about the great things they've accomplished, to have them tell the story of one of the biggest mistakes that they've made and how that mistake changed their thinking and the way they run their business. All right, we've got another episode of Homecare Hindsight, and I'm super excited to welcome my friend Ravin Shah from HelloHire onto the podcast today. Ravin is CEO and founder of HelloHire, which is a really cool platform that I don't think enough people know about. Ravin, welcome to the show.
David, what's up?
What's up, man?
What's up? It's so exciting to be here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, and happy to connect with all your listeners.
Yeah, we've got like 30 or 31 at this point, so it's pretty exciting.
All right.
Yeah, I know. There's tens of us. Who knows? It's growing. I have people tell me they like my podcast, which I think is the thing when someone's having a midlife crisis or something and they start a podcast, the thing you have to say to them. But I appreciate the encouragement anyways. Hey, for people who aren't familiar with you, how would you introduce yourself?
I am Ravin. I am the CEO and founder of HelloHire. I've been in technology for like 25 years, 10 years in corporate, 15 years as in the tech startup space. Yeah, I'd say that's kind of quick intro.
Yeah, you live in Toronto.
Yes, I live in Toronto. I'm married. I've got two wonderful girls, 10 and 7. Don't spend nearly as much time with them as I'd like to, but trying to change that.
That's great. Yeah, we were talking, and you shared that like there's this tension in, I mean, really just in business, but in startups, and I think a lot of home care owners can resonate with this of like, okay, the last time I did this, my work-life balance was totally out of whack. And so now that I'm building a company again, I'm going to fix my work-life balance and spend a whole lot less time at work and a whole lot more time with my family. How's that going for you?
Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that. So to your point, I am I guess, repeat founder. I have started, grown, and exited a company in the past. I thought coming back in the second time around, it would be easy and fine. It is a little bit easier because you've been there before, but starting anything from 0 to 1 is excruciatingly difficult and it's superhuman focus, attention, dedication, all that stuff, which there is no substitute for. It's tough. It's hard work, and I've been there.
I think the other thing that stands out to me about you is you're a big fan of home care.
I am. I am.
What's your favorite thing about home care?
So the thing I love about home care is that it really finds people who are a combination of commerce and empathy, which are two things that I really love and value. And this entire industry is made up of people like that want to do better in the world, but are also looking to, create profit and value in at the same time. And I think that's wonderful.
Early in my time with Ava, I went to an owners summit that Becky Reel hosted, and it was a really good opportunity to just get in a room with a bunch of people who are actually doing the thing that I'm trying to understand and talk about, but I'm not an operator. And so there's stuff I don't understand. And one of the things I heard that group say was, we could all be making more money doing something else. And from the outside looking in, I was like, well, I know like there are home care owners who are, crushing it, who are making really good money, who have really successful businesses that they've grown, that they've scaled. And so at first I was like, I don't know about that. And then the more I kind of sat with it and thought about it, and the more home care owners I've gotten to know, I realized like any home care owner who's successful could be successful doing anything. And what I love about this industry is these are very like passionate, motivated, energetic people who have picked an insane business model to try and run that is really challenging and has all kinds of logistical nightmares that, you build in spite of.
Yeah, it is a fulfilling business. It is a difficult business at the same time. And again, I'm not an operator, so I don't live it, but I hear it. I am, around it, and I can only empathize for, it's a tough business, and you got to love it to be in it and thrive.
Yep, that's good. Okay, well, let's abruptly transition to this part of the show that I call What Kind of Person Are You? Which is all I want to do in life is ask people, what kind of person are you? And you can't do that most places, but you can when you run a podcast. And so in order to ask you, what kind of person are you? You can go back in time and you can choose a completely different career path. What is it?
All right. So if I had to do it all over, I don't know exactly what the career would be, but it would definitely be outside and working with my hands. There's no question that it sounds crazy because I'm in technology instead of in front of a screen on my seat all day. But yeah, if I could do it over, I'd be outside working with my hands. Then that would make me truly happy.
What's your favorite season, your favorite month of the year in Toronto?
Definitely the one we're in right now. October, fall, it's perfect. It's beautiful. The weather, it can be a little brisk. So you need a little light jacket, but you're not hot, you're not cold. This time of year in Toronto right now is by far the best.
For us too, we're probably 2 or 3 weeks away from when it starts to get just wonderful. We're more of November, early December. It's where you get up, you need a jacket, the air can hurt your lungs just a little bit, but then you go outside and it's just perfect. Yeah. Well, Ravin, you're somebody who's had a really successful career. You've built a company. You've contributed to building other companies. You're doing it again, and you've found a really kind of exciting product market fit in home care where people really like what you're doing and are getting a lot of value from it. We're not here to talk about any of that today. Instead, we're here to talk about the big mistake that you made and all the stuff that you learned from that. So, Ravin, what's your big mistake?
Well, David, I have a long list of mistakes that I've made in my life. And so, we're not going to go through that list. We'll be here all week. But I'll take the biggest mistake that I made for HelloHire and sort of this venture as it relates to home care. And really, it is ignoring the home care industry for almost 2.5 years. That is by far single-handedly the biggest mistake that I've made with HelloHire.
So tell me how that happened, because it feels like when we first met, I guess in Orlando earlier this year, and you told me what you did, I was like, oh, which actually just for people who might not be familiar, what's the 30-second HelloHire? What do you do?
Yeah, so HelloHire is a recruiting tool that helps home care agencies instantly boost the quality and quantity of their new caregivers while significantly recruitment time. We do that with AI, automation, and video interviews, all in one platform.
The way, when I talk to people about what you do, I put it this way. I say, oh yeah, Ravin with HelloHire. Yeah, he gets your Indeed leads to show up.
Right. Filter, find the interested and qualified individuals from your, pile of applicants from Indeed, bring them to you in a lineup of back-to-back video interviews is, the other way to say what we do.
Yeah, I think it's great. So when you told me that that's what you do, I was like, oh, you should have been in home care 10 years ago at least. I mean, some of these AI tools didn't exist, but a while ago. And so tell me how it happened that you heard about home care and you were like, nah, it's not for me.
All right. So early on in our journey, we were exploring retail, hospitality, and call centers, for which we have a number of customers in those segments. Around that time, in fact, a really good friend and my wife are both in home care. So my wife's an occupational therapist, works with the government of Ontario to help place, or essentially work with clients to assess their home care needs. Another buddy of mine, he runs a company called Homecare Hub. Both of them are like, you know what, this caregiver recruitment thing could really fit for what you're working on and building. So that was the introduction. Then this is again 2.5 years ago, and they're really saying, you really need to look at this industry. There's something here. I listened to them. I did, and I started to do some initial research. So I found a few contacts in the industry through those two individuals, and I did what customer development interviews. So I just asked about the problem, shared how we're potentially solving it, And the feedback that I got at that time was that, the caregiving community are generally not tech savvy and will not adopt to this type of technology. And I took that feedback to heart and I said, okay, well, let's move on to other industries. And yeah, so I just completely turned away from home care at the time.
Which I think, this is something that we hear all the time in the work that we do with doing a bunch of engagement and other kinds of rewards and recognition activities to reduce turnover and all that kind of stuff is, oh, well, our caregivers are typically 50, 60, 70 years old, which is true. And they're not tech savvy, which is true. But the reality is most of these people have grandbabies. And how do you keep up with grandbabies? On your phone, Facebook and Instagram and FaceTime and all those kinds of things. Also, who doesn't play Candy Crush or any of the various like casino games? And so my hypothesis is it's not that caregivers aren't tech savvy. It's that they don't know how to use corporate tech. Like they're not going to learn to use Microsoft Teams. But that was a weird shot at Microsoft Teams. Sorry, Bill Gates. But I stand by it. But like all of the consumer facing technology is designed to be really easy to use, and people of various ages are adopting it. So tell me, like, how'd you come back to home care?
We had a few inbound leads find HelloHire from the home care space. So home care agencies and other service providers to the home care industry. One in particular really loved the platform, like more than 10 out of 10, like 11 out of 10, one of the true evangelists. And, he went above and beyond to kind of work with us to really tweak the platform to suit the needs of home care at the time. And then as we're having these conversations, he's telling me again and again how important this product is to home care, why I need to drop everything and just focus on home care. And again, for a long time, I kept telling him that, it's not, the caregiver community is not ready for it. And he's like, well, look, man, you're wrong. I'm using it with caregivers today and it's doing amazing. And so this was late last year. I then went and started doing my own internal research. I actually helped a family here in Toronto hire a caregiver using our platform. And I just wanted to, and I did the interviews myself. I found them a caregiver. It worked amazingly. And then I just said, okay, let's move the ship and see what we can do here. And it's been, a slam dunk. Like the need is real and our solution really solves the problem. It's been a great fit.
Yeah, I was in another industry before coming to work in home care, and from time to time would talk to some home care owners. We were selling into like assisted living, independent living organizations. And the big challenge there was we need more leads and we need to reduce our dependency on paid referral sources, which is, I was like, I bet home care is exactly the same. And every conversation I had with a home care owner was like, we're good on leads. We do not need more leads. What we need more of, and of course you need higher quality leads and all that kind of stuff. But What we need is a better way to get caregivers because we don't have enough and we're having to turn away business or we're having challenges with the quality of service that we're providing. I think it was like 43% of providers had to turn away a referral in the last year because of a lack of staffing ability. We know this is the challenge. And so part of what I love about you guys is that it makes finding leads through what can be a really frustrating lead source and turning those people into caregivers who do great work a whole lot easier.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And yeah, that's part of this fit is that the business relies on having a roster of high quality caregivers that you can deploy and place with your clients. And if you can improve that, you're going to, like you said, never have to leave a referral behind because you have the right people on your roster.
Yep, I totally agree. And so I think, to bring this back, because we've probably just lost all of our listeners who aren't like technology people and are not building a technology company. So come back if you left. But for people who are listening to this and who are home care owners, what's the takeaway from your perspective?
The takeaway, at least from my learning, is that, again, if I take it back to my mistake, right? I ignored the industry because the assumption was caregivers aren't tech savvy enough. The truth is, if they can use Indeed, if they can use Facebook, Instagram, FaceTime, they can use technology like HelloHire, like Ava, that have been designed to be much like consumer applications, right? They are designed first and ease of use forward. And so I'd say the takeaway is, don't be afraid to leverage the latest technology to uplift your home care agency and really explore it. I think the first step is just take a step forward to explore what is possible when you leverage new tech. I'd say that's the takeaway, really.
Yeah, I think a lot of where I hear caregivers aren't tech savvy, which again is, as a general statement, very true. When I hear caregivers aren't tech savvy, a lot of times it's coming from owners who are thinking through the lens of these apps that have been designed for people who sit at desks and offices and look at screens all day, like you and I do. And it's instead, think about what the reason is that the technology has been designed, and like the kind of motivation and background. Are people thinking, hey, let's make this feel more like a consumer app. Let's make this feel like a delightful experience. Those are the kind of apps that are probably worth taking a look at in the event that they can help solve a real business problem. And you don't have to worry too much about, will the caregivers learn and adopt this technology? And will I not have to, answer a million questions about the technology? Because that would be super annoying.
Yeah, and that's probably the lens that they're looking at this, because I'm guessing, have been burned in the past, right? You've tried a new technology. It's been a painful experience. The interface was never great. The implementation was a disaster or a nightmare. And at the end of the day, people don't use it, or it doesn't deliver on the outcome. So I get it. Like, there's a fair level of skepticism or, scarring from the past. I get it.
I think the two great lies in home care as it relates to technology, and these are things that we tell people we do, and we really do, but I understand why people don't believe it from time to time, is seamless integration and streamlined onboarding.
Right.
Those are the two words that everybody promises, and it is, it's very trust but verify. Make sure that those are actually the case, instead of, oh, we got 6 months in and the thing that we were told works doesn't work, because that absolutely happens in this industry. And I understand why owners and operators are skeptical of new technology players who promise both those things.
Yeah. And I've seen it. I've heard firsthand what the past experience has been. And it's an unfortunate hurdle that I think folks like us have to cross in order to really give the value that we want to be able to give.
Well, let's transition to something completely different. I'll break the fourth wall here and ask you, did you want to talk about something that was underrated or something that was overrated?
Let's go underrated.
Perfect. Now I'm unbreaking the fourth wall. So Ravin, I want to ask you about something that you think is totally underrated in the industry. It's amazing. You think it's the best. Everybody else kind of overlooks it. What do you think that thing is?
Okay, from the lens that I see it, and again, I live in a very thin slice of home care, but I would say video interviews are completely underrated. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because people have been doing things a certain way for a really long time, and there is this feeling that I've got to meet somebody in person in order to accurately assess them. And I think a lot of that is true. I'm not trying to take that away, but there's also a level of convenience that comes with doing things on video that you just can't get away from, right? Like for a caregiver or a recruiter to spend 5 or 10 minutes by tapping a link on a device wherever they are and now being face to face, having a conversation, that's way more powerful than the industry is giving it credit for, I'd say.
Yeah. And I'm thinking through, like, what is the caregiver journey through the recruitment process? I mean, this is my guess, is I'm probably, if I'm looking for a new caregiver role and I'm a good quality applicant, I'm probably talking to multiple places at the same time.
100%. You've applied to, it's the comment, hey, look for a role, caregiver, this is a location, pay, apply. All right. Who's going to make it easy and who's going to be fast? That's where I'm going to go.
But I have to imagine, like, at some point I've got to see these people in person. And so when is, from your perspective, the right time for a video call, and when is it going to be really important to have an in-person kind of interaction before we trust them with one of our clients that we want to protect and value really highly?
Yeah, I'd say the very first interaction or conversation that you have with a potential caregiver should be over video, and the last should be in person. And we have customers that do it differently. In fact, every agency manages sort of the process from first interview to hire a little bit differently, but common trends are, okay, we're going to do a first video interview and we're going to do a second interview in person. The other one is, okay, we're going to do a longer first interview online, and we're going to make the hiring decision, start onboarding, and orientation will be the first time that we meet in person with the caregiver. And even though it's orientation and they're, in the hiring process, it's still not someone they have to place with a client at that moment. And so you still have the opportunity to really assess if this is a good person for your agency. So I'd say different people do it in different ways, but general principle of like best practices: do your very, very first interaction on video and do your very, very last in person.
Yeah. Well, and I think what stands out to me about, like, if the first time you've met face to face in person, not on video, is at orientation, like, you still have every opportunity to pull the plug there if it's clearly not a good fit. While there's probably a little bit of financial investment getting into orientation, that should probably be a paid engagement.
Right.
The sunk cost of realizing someone's not a fit at orientation and pulling the plug, balanced against how many more people are we able as an agency to set ourselves apart in the caregiver interview process and make it very caregiver centric, make it very frictionless and very painless, I would guess for recruiters too.
Right. Yeah. And the faster you're able to pull the right people through the funnel, the faster you're going to be able to grow your agency, grow your clients. And not everyone is going to be a 10 out of 10 at the end of the door, at the end of the gate, but you're going to find more of them faster if you follow a frictionless, fast, streamlined process.
Yeah, that's great. Ravin, I want to transition to the next segment here. We talked about a big mistake that you made. Thanks for sharing. I want to talk to you now about a little mistake that you see home care owners make all the time, that if they quit, it'd make their lives or their businesses like 10 times better.
Yeah, I would say that the mistake that I constantly see home care agency owners making is trying to improve their recruiting process by really just looking at the recruiter or the cost of recruitment. And I say that because there is a human aspect that needs to be done every single time. And whether that's someone in your office or working from home in the United States or working remotely, in another part of the world, it's always still a human-driven process, and the results will only be incrementally better. If you're looking for big change, you've got to make, or big outcomes, then you got to make bigger changes. And I think that little mistake is not leaning on, again, technology and automation in the areas where you can. And again, I would say that's the non-human administrative manual things that, you may be trying to find a lower cost solution to do, where you just that doesn't need to be human, I think, is the takeaway.
Yeah. I remember talking to a business owner in the ABA space, which is like autism behavioral therapy kind of world. And one of the things that he said to his team when I was on a call with him is that we can't keep throwing people at this problem. We've got to find systems and processes and automations and ways to operationalize these best practices. Because let's assume you have the right people in the role. Maybe you don't. Maybe you need to change who's in the recruiting seat. But let's assume we've got a recruiter that's at least 80% as good as we need them to be. How much better could they be if we give them the right tools and the right resources so that they're able to operate at the high part of their license, of their qualifications, which is to have meaningful connections with people. And we leave all of the administrative cycles that drain them. You've probably hired an extrovert for this role. Extrovert to listener. Don't just make us do paperwork. And so finding ways to reduce some of those administrative cycles is a huge way to ensure that your recruiter feels like they're doing a great job.
We kind of divide this into what we call high value work and low value work. High value work is building a relationship, connecting with the caregiver, selling the opportunity, right? Why your agency? Why are you the one they should pick? And all of that has to be human and it has to be relatable, right? You need that person who can create that experience for the caregiver. Low value work is anything that's not that. And there's a lot of work that falls into that category. And that's the part you want to automate and leverage technology to do for you.
Absolutely. Well, we've talked about a lot of mistakes, and that's been fun. But I always like ending these things on a high note. And so I'd love to hear about your win of the week. What's something that's happened lately in your business you're really proud of?
So in technology, we are always innovating. We're always evolving. We thrive on feedback from our users to essentially deliver more value to the customer. Most of the time, we don't get much feedback. Sometimes we'll get feedback and, it's delivered in a really positive, collaborative way. And then once in a while, you get that feedback in, let's call it like a negative undertone, right? Where it's like, hey, how could you not do this? And, our expectations were that this was something your platform would do. How could it not happen? And I think this week we received one of the feedback in that category. And, while the tone, and again, this is all over email. So you're reading it the tone. While the email tone wasn't, fluffy and friendly, the customer was not wrong. What they're asking for and requesting completely makes sense. And without that feedback, we can't improve as a product. And so I think the win is being able to put on the filters of objectivity, tone, and pleasantries aside, and take the value of what we're getting from that customer and hopefully deliver on that value. I'd say that was a win and a learning at the same time.
If you're listening to this, please send angry and insightful emails to Ravin and also to myself. I can totally relate to the kind of feedback that you got. And what that always says to me is this is a very passionate customer who wants your thing to work for them the way that they need it to.
Right.
And as long as their requirements are something that you could see other people needing, that's gold. So that's a really great thing to share. Well, before we sign off today, what do you want to plug? Where can people find you?
The plug is, if you're even remotely interested in what we're up to, you can check out our website. It's at tryhellohire.com. Best thing to do is to click book a demo, schedule some time with one of our team members, and learn what we do and see if there's a good fit. I'd say that would be the right next step.
Yeah, you're a good follow and somebody good to interact with on LinkedIn as well. And so look up Ravin Shah on LinkedIn and leave nice comments on your stuff you post. So Ravin, it has been a highlight of my year that we've gotten to know each other. It'll be fun to see each other at future events coming up this month and next year and all that kind of stuff. So thanks so much for coming on the show today. Really appreciate it. On behalf of the team here at Zengage, thanks for listening to the show. We'll be back next week with another episode, so be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. Leave us a rating while you're there. It helps other people find the show. If you have comments on the show, drop me a line, david@zengage.com. Would love to hear from you, chat with you there.